Hi everyone, it's Sailor Mimzy. In today's video, I'm going to try my best and explain how I fixed my Mikkel Reuse journal that exploded. I think it exploded last year or right at the end of 2014, or maybe the beginning of 2015. I don't know, but I'm going to insert some pictures right now so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And I'm using a Fauxbonichi right now, so I can't really use that as an example. I can't cut it up and do what I did with the other notebook, but I'm going to try my best to explain. Some of the things that you're going to need are get a few of these binder clips, a paintbrush. I wouldn't recommend using an expensive one. These ones are just like from a crappy set from the dollar store. They work just fine. This is actually the one that I used when I first did this last year. And then glue. I have PVA medium gloss. It says water soluble, waterproof when dry. It says it's made by Reeves and Pool Group. You don't need a whole lot of this. So yeah, I bought this bottle new and it looks like there's barely any missing from it. And this is what I used to fix my notebook from before. I've also seen other people use hot glue gun and regular white glue. The reason I use this is because the guy at the store said this was acid free, I believe. But I didn't have any white glue on me anyways. So we went to the store to buy some stuff and different websites said to use like a PVA glue. I don't remember what the difference was. But like I said, other people have used hot glue gun as well as regular white glue. And remember, you can always experiment before you actually do this using like scrap papers or something. Oh, and you're also going to need a knife. I don't have my knife on me though. And of course you're going to need your exploded notebook as well as some scrap paper. Not scrap paper. Some scrapbook paper to use as the cover if you want to do that too. So this is scrapbook paper that I cut to fit the notebook. So here I have the same Mikkel Reuse notebook, just a different cover color. So they come in black and red that I've seen. I usually see it in the color black. I have this red one that I bought last year, I think. I'm just gonna try and show you guys. So if you've seen from the pictures, you could see that the edge here, like in the spine, it was coming apart, like the actual notebook papers were. It was ripping and it was coming apart from the actual spine part. I can't really show you guys because I don't have an example of one here. It's easier to do it. I think it would be easier to do it if your notebook was on the brink of explosion like mine was versus doing it on a notebook like this that's still intact. Hopefully that makes sense. I was going to take apart this one for this video, but then I realized, yeah, like I had an easier time taking apart the one that exploded because like I said, it was already coming apart anyways. So it wasn't that hard for me to just like cut through and take it apart. So as you can see in this other picture, I separated the notebook into different chunks. You can always separate it by month if you want, or every 2 months, or however you want to separate it. I just did it according to how it exploded. I found doing it that way would be easier. So in these notebooks have 300 pages. I think it exploded, yeah, it had to been after Christmas. Anyways, so what I did was, you can see in the picture that different parts of the notebook were breaking off in sections. I just got a knife and opened it up to the part that was broken, so we'll say right here. And I just, oh, I don't have my knife, hang on. We'll just pretend. Because I don't have my knife, it's like in the other room. And I don't want to cut this anyway. But, so say this is a knife, this is a crochet hook, it's not a knife. But I opened it up to a section that was coming apart, so I just cut here. I didn't push all the way through, so I didn't damage like the outside part. It's hard to explain. You can feel it though, like you won't cut through to the fake leather part. And yeah, so just keep going through the sections and cutting. And make sure you keep the chunks that you cut out in order. It's easier. I know your pages, I'm sure, are all dated, but just make sure you keep them in order. And then from there, I had them all stacked. So all the different chunks and stuff were stacked. And I probably started from, the earliest chunk. So yeah, just have all of your separate pieces in a pile in order. So we'll have the earliest from the latest. So have it stacked like that. So, say put January 1st here and then August whatever at the bottom of the chunk. So you grab the first chunk. And since I don't have one, I don't have an actual one to show you guys. So I just have these papers here. This will resemble the chunk because I don't have an actual one to show you guys. So just for this video, I'm just gonna write top and bottom here. Okay, so I have this labeled top and bottom. So we want to glue this side here. Now for the most part in the Mikkel Reuse notebook that's coming apart, those chunks that you separated are most likely still stuck together. They're only separated from the actual like rest of the notebook, like the leather part. So most of these will already be stuck together, and they probably, depending on how far you are in your notebook too, they could be warped. So show my picture, you could probably see that it's warped. I'm just trying to find an example here. So this is an actual part that I cut from that notebook that I showed you guys. And you can see here, the spine isn't perfect. It's warped because I was using that chunky notebook for so long as like how it was, so it screwed up the way the binding was. So I don't know if you guys can even tell. Here's where the spine is. So it's kind of bent up, and there's nothing I could do to fix that. So as long as that doesn't bug you, you'll be okay. Like this didn't bug me. Not all of the pieces were like this. I can show another one. Yeah, so here's another one. This one was probably closer to the middle or to the part that was unused still in the notebook. So that looks a little bit more normal. See, the spine is actually on the side instead of all warped and like at the top of the book, if that even makes sense. So we can compare it actually. So here's this one and here's the one from earlier. Huge difference. So yeah, like I said, depending on how far you are in your notebook, some pieces will be like this, others will look a little better. Alright, so we'll get back to this. So get your chunk here of your journal, and then just try and line it up as best as you can. So we want to put glue on this side here. If you have any loose pages, I would turn it to this side where we're not putting the glue and kind of line it up that way. That way your edge will be straight. Now I'm not a pro at this. I'm just showing you guys what I did and what worked for me. And I'm sure, like for sure, there's other resources on the internet. You can check different websites and have multiple techniques that you could try. But I'm just showing you guys how I did it. So just put some binder clips on the paper. I'm gonna move this here. Just make sure you have it straight. Oh, I had a stack of books that I was resting this on. 1 second. Yeah, I found it easier just because the binder clips kind of move the paper around. So it's better if you have it on an elevated surface where the binder clips aren't making the paper all wrinkly, if that makes sense. Because when I had it on the table, you know, the back part of the clip touching the table, it kind of bent the paper in a different way, which caused a bend in this, and we don't want that. So just try and get it as straight as you can. If you have to elevate it, you should elevate it, because yeah, that worked here. So now it's all straight. I just have it on a box right now. I'll turn it to show you guys. Oops. So as you can see, this edge is straight. I'm just gonna pour a little bit on here. Oops, poured more than I expected. I don't know, to me this seems like just like runny white glue. Anyways, so we're gonna do the first coat. What we did before, because my husband was doing this too, would coat it once, wait for it to dry. So 20 minutes, 20-30 minutes to be safe. Glue another coat, repeat 3 or 4 times. I think we did up to 3 coats in total. So yeah, so we'll just get that done. There are kids outside screaming and it's really dark out, kind of creepy. This is also good to do if you have like lots of scrap paper. You can make notepads and stuff. So I just did the first coat, as if you guys could even really see it. We'll just let it dry. So while this is drying, I just want to explain the reason why I didn't pre-cut the scrapbook paper as the cover for this is because, like I showed you guys with my journals from last year, there's some parts that are warped and some that are more normal. It's easier to cut the covers after they're all dried and like done gluing and everything, because the measurements on them are going to be off by a bit, and plus the way that I measure it isn't exactly I don't really use a ruler or anything because I hate using rulers. But it's similar to, I don't know if you've guys seen my video from before where I make a really fast, cheap, easy cover for a notebook just using paper by folding it. That's similar to how I did the covers for these, for this journal explosion fix thing. I don't even know what to call it. And also, I need to mention that the scrapbook paper that I did use, so here's one of the notebooks right now. It's not thick like regular scrapbook paper, but then it's a little bit thicker than regular paper. I don't know about you guys, but with the scrapbook paper that I have, the thick ones, they tend to rip whenever I fold them. They rip, or the design on the paper kind of comes off, if that makes sense. I don't have an example to show it. But yeah, so that's why I went with the thinner stuff. It folds nicely. So here's what the edge looks like. Yeah, it folds easily. And I don't take these notebooks around with me or anything. So that's why I felt it would be okay using the thinner paper. These notebooks now just sit on my shelf. Pretty soon they'll be getting tied up into bundles and put away in a chest that I have. I wouldn't recommend doing this for a notebook that you plan on carrying around still, unless you use the thicker stuff. Oh, actually with this one I did use a thicker one. Yeah, actually with this notebook, now that I'm looking at my stack here, this one is like a regular scrapbook paper, but the design on this one is plain. It doesn't have any glitter or anything, and there's nothing embossed, so I was able to fold this one easily. I think this came from a $10 pack from, like a pad from Michael's, a $10 paper pad. But yeah, I'm not sure if you guys know what I mean, but like there's some scrapbook papers that if you fold, it pretty much just like falls apart almost. Alright, now I'm going to do the second layer. It's been over 10 minutes just because I was actually going up and down the stairs and talking to my husband and doing other stuff. But you could always wait longer than 10 minutes if you want, or 20 minutes. I've got my other paintbrush downstairs by the sink, but we're just going to use this guy. I remember when I was first doing this, I was very skeptical that this was going to work. I was also very scared too. But in the end, I ended up doing it because I figured it'd be better to make sure that my journal was safe. Even though in several pieces, that it was safe, instead of me lugging around this huge thing that was so ready to fall apart at any moment. And who knows, like I could have lost pages at like work or wherever. So in the end, as scary as it was, this was the best thing for me to do. Alright, so we're just gonna let this dry, and then we're gonna do 2 more coats. Alright, so I did 3 coats in total actually. Now you can do up to 4 coats, maybe even more, just it depends on how comfortable you are and how intact your notebook is. Like I said, I didn't really have a whole bunch of loose pages, there were some. So I think I just did 3 or 4 coats on those parts. I don't remember. But yeah, go with what you're comfortable with, or if you're experimenting before you try it, then yeah. It did make it a lot easier that my journal wasn't completely falling apart. Like individual pages weren't coming out. There were just a few pages, but it wasn't that hard to fix. And like, they're all intact right now still. Alright, so I'm just going to move this stuff over. And I grabbed the first sheet of scrapbook paper that I had sitting on my pile over here. This one is it's a little bit thicker, but I bent a scrap piece that I had and it bent okay. It didn't start tearing or anything. So we'll be okay. Okay, so for this part, hopefully this fits. What I did was I just lined up, you know, the journal piece here. If you want to use a ruler to do this, by all means you totally can. Like I said, I just suck at using rulers. I'm just marking where the top is to cut, and I'm just going over to the other side and doing the same thing. You can't really see it, but I traced the guide there where to cut. And it's dangerous scissors time. If you have one of those paper cutters too, you can definitely use that. Mine's in the other room, I just don't feel like getting up to go do it over there. Okay, so we have the cut piece. So I lined up my journal chunk. Make sure the scrapbook paper is face down and it's going in the direction that you want. and then line up your journal chunk to this edge here. So this is what I did. Just held it down and I folded it. And I folded it again for the spine. Just make sure it's in there and that it's lining up the way you like. So now taking your pencil, just draw a line there. Now we're just going to cut this excess part off. Alright, so make sure we have this going the right way. And they're pretty good. I'm happy with it. Okay, so we're almost done. So looking closely, with your journals, your spine will probably be thicker than this because that bunch of papers I grabbed wasn't even a lot. It's maybe a couple of dozen in here or whatever. It's maybe 20 sheets, I don't know. But here's how it looks. I don't know if you guys can see it. There's the two fold marks here, and there's another one here. Hopefully you can see. So now what we want to do is we're going to put glue on this again, and then we're going to stick it in between those two fold marks, and then we're going to clip it shut. Now if you get some glue like on the surface here, like say I'm putting glue right here and I accidentally get some on this part, you can wipe it. I'd say wipe it immediately, otherwise it's going to stick to the inside cover of the scrapbook paper. If that doesn't bug you, then just keep on going. I can show you guys the inside of some of mine. I know I did that for sure, and it's not a huge deal. And make sure you guys are washing your paintbrushes in between, because yeah, these are cheap, but then if you want to keep using the same brush to do the different layers, then definitely wash it, otherwise it's just going to get really hard and gross. Okay, so now again, make sure your paper's going the right way. Grab this. Now we are going to line it up and stick it in. My cutting was crooked. Can you guys see that up there? Alright. So we're going to get our handy clips here again. I had 3 when I was doing this. So I had top, bottom, and the middle here. I'll just use this guy for now. And we're just going to let that dry. I put it aside for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. While this is drying, you could always start on the next chunks too, depending on how many pieces of journal you want to put together. So I'm just going to put that aside for now. And I will just check out some of my journals here. Alright, so this is from November 2014, December 2014. So here's one of the chunks that I put together. So the cool thing is also, after you take apart those notebooks and you add the scrapbook paper, you can always decorate the cover. You can always label it. So I did this. I put dates on the covers. And then just like a little stamp in the corner for fun. I did this I just got, I think the stamp was from one of my friends, or it could be from Target, I don't remember. And I just stamped some scrap pieces of like yellow old looking paper I had, and then I cut them out, and then I stamped the date stamps inside, and then the number 3, and then I stuck that on afterwards. I decorated that after I stuck the cover on, like after it was dried and everything. So let's open it up. See the inside, it's not sticking to the inside cover, or the inside like the first page. It looks okay. And the back kind of is, but there's not really anything here anyway. Let's just find that warped piece that I have. The warped journal. Alright, so yeah, this is the one with the messed up spine because I kept it too thick. Oh, this was the beginning of this journal. Oh, that makes sense now. Yeah, I had two McCalvary journals that I took apart. That's why the papers are so different. Okay, sorry, brain fart. So this, I don't really write anything on this page. Like comes with a blank page in the journal, and I never write anything on the first page, usually. So that was fine. If the glue messed up and if I got glue on the first page or whatever, it's totally fine. And let's see, the back looks good too. So it's all stuck still. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Oh yeah, okay, so this is actually part of the first one I took apart. It belongs with these. I think, yeah, there's two other books, I believe. So there's two other books that look like this with scrapbook paper. So those were the parts that were really mingled up that I had to put into separate books, and this was the remainder of my journal. I just kept it in the... Okay, this is a cover I made out of duct tape. So I just kept it in its original black cover. You can see, but since I cut the pieces out, there's this here where the pieces were once stuck to. So if that bugs you, you could always put duct tape or something on it, like decorative duct tape, to hide it. I didn't really care. And plus, that reminds me too that it was once a bigger notebook. And then also, the other problem with doing this is, not a huge problem, but the cover. So obviously the cover changes in size because you got rid of a big chunk. So I had to trim some of it off, which was okay. So yeah, you guys can kind of see. I did try adding some glue. Like I tried getting in there with some more glue, but I couldn't really. But it's okay, the pages are all in there nicely still. Oh, I still have yet to do a flip through on this too. Ooh, let's see how, see, February 1st to the, wow, to June 3rd. So there's 4 months in here. It's pretty awesome. Alright, so here it is. It's all done. Oh, and if you have some glue that spills out on the edges, you just wipe it up with Kleenex. Like wipe it away from the rest of the book. So if there's some here, just go that way instead of putting it onto here. It turned out okay. And so here's where I wrote the top and the bottom. And I got some glue on this first page here. That's why it's sticking to the cover while I'm opening it. But the rest of the notebook looks good. So in overview, it's way easier doing this with a notebook that is falling apart, such as the McCalvary notebook, versus just a bunch of loose pages. If you're doing loose pages, definitely add more glue, more layers of glue, just to make sure that you get all the pages. You have to make sure that each page has glue on it and that they're all sticking together. But yeah, I think that's all that I can think of for when making your own notebook. Oh, and with the McCalvary notebook, I noticed the paper, the edges are rounded, so you can always use a corner rounder or just use like a round. So say there's washi tape. You know, if you don't have a corner rounder, you can always just put something round down like this, just tape, pencil, and then just trace, and then cut, and there's your round edge. But make sure you practice that first so it lines up with the rest of the notebook, if that's a big deal to you. But yeah, I think that's all the points that I had to cover. If you guys have any questions, comments, or anything like that, just leave it in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So this is my first time actually going over these instructions of how I've done this in quite a long time. So I'm hoping that I did an alright job for you guys. Hopefully you were able to understand what I was trying to show you, despite not having an actual notebook that was falling apart. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.